So here we are today, delighted to be joined by Liz Earle. Liz, how are you today?
So good to be here. I'm really well. I'm feeling very well with my well-being, which is the key business asset for all of us.
I love that. So listen, they'd be nice to that first question. It's interesting, during the pandemic, obviously, there was a lot of focus for us all as individuals on our health, our well-being, our life, etc., etc. And it's almost accelerated since the pandemic, so we're very much conscious. I think my opening question, was this always going to happen? Or
That's a really interesting question. I think you're right. I think it did fast track it because I think we realised that health is wealth. Frankly, if we don't have that, we have nothing because we can't function socially or at work or wherever. And so I think it did move the dial on that. But I think generally there's been so much change in the space of wellness over the 35 years that I've been working in it and writing about it. And we're all living longer. You know, if you look statistically, longevity is front of mind for a lot of us. But if we're going to have more years on our life, how do we get more life into those years? Because we want to function fully. You know, cognitive decline is terrifying, rates of Alzheimer's and dementia and all of those things. We need our brains to function.
Yeah.
And actually degenerative diseases are rising, you know, obesity and coronary heart disease and cancers and all of that. So I think it is a time when we've kind of reached a tipping point. We say, we have the technology, we know what we can be doing, and we can make small lifestyle changes that make a big difference to how we feel and how we operate.
And again, do you worry now that as kind of we are getting back into like the rapidness of life, that this focus is going to slip for people, or do you just think it's better than where we are?
I think that we know enough now about what makes a difference that we'll see that trajectory carry on. I think it's about making small lifestyle changes. So one of the things that I often focus on as a business asset actually is the importance of sleep. It's really underrated. You know, I used to think that when we sleep, we just crash into bed and we switch off and nothing happens. Actually, nothing could be further from the truth. Sleep is a process. It's an active process. Our brain is doing all the filing and the paperwork from the day, and we need to give it the right ability and the right things that it needs to do that. Our gut health, most of its repair and restore work does while we sleep. And our gut bugs need that break from eating food and digesting and running around, that they can actually then proliferate and rebuild the cells of the body. So I think focusing on sleep, one of the things I do with my team is prioritise their sleep. I'll say, you know, how did you sleep?
Yes.
Because I know as a business leader, I can't make a good decision unless I've had a good night's sleep. And the same is true for my team. I need them properly firing. So I now set an alarm for the time to go to bed rather than the time to wake up. Because it reminds me that actually I need my sleep. I looked at my diary. I've got an early start tomorrow, so I put in my diary 9:30 bed.
Have you got a routine of kind of what you do in the lead up to bed?
Definitely, and I think routines are good. Early in the morning routine and end of day routine. They're like two bookends of the day.
Yeah.
So we'll start perhaps with the nighttime routine. So things like minimising blue light. So wear the geeky biohacking red lens blue blocking glasses pretty much as soon as the sun's gone down. If you think of ancestral living, we get back as close to that as we can. Obviously, we're far removed from it now, but if we can start to emulate a little bit of that, so dim the lights, put dimmer switches on, try and eat during daylight hours if you can. Things like magnesium supplements can help. Magnesium glycinate is the form that's really good for reducing anxiety, helping a better night's sleep. Even simple things like a few drops of lavender oil on your pillow. Sounds all a bit kind of woo-woo and just sort of nicey-nicey, but actually, when you look at the studies, therapeutically, that smell, it has biochemicals in it that link to neurotransmitters in the brain that encourage sedation and calm. And it's about a ritual. I think when my brain smells a bit of lavender oil, it's going like, right, okay, she's going to switch me off now. That's
brilliant.
Good.
I love that. So let me ask you, and kind of, I don't know if it's controversial, but obviously Liz Earle, the brand, is synonymous with the beauty industry.
Yeah.
Was there a moment for you, kind of, and maybe I'm wrong, but kind of the concept of the kind of our perception of the beauty industry and perception of wellness, maybe they're not aligned. Was there a moment for you that actually you had this dilemma, or is it my perception kind of?
Yeah, I think for me, I've always felt very aligned with whatever I've been doing. So I started life nearly 40 years ago as a journalist, writing about health and wellness before wellness was even a thing. Nobody even used that word. but I felt instinctively drawn to botanical ingredients and natural remedies and healthier ways of living and eating. The first books I wrote were all about healthy fats in the diet, for example, which improve the skin and the brain. And then moving into beauty, which was essentially going to be a sideline. And it became, one of the biggest beauty brands in the UK before we sold it. So it was, again, using those ingredients that I knew would work botanically, sustainably, responsibly sourced, that's a big part of it, in quantities that actually work on the skin and working holistically and working with local communities so that you can, use your buying power to have a broader impact on society generally and globally, actually, in developing countries. And then moving on from the beauty company, going back into the world of wellness, picking up those earlier threads of my career and seeing how that's developed. And it's been really exciting, actually, to be at the forefront of that, with the recent books and things that I've written, actually are based on 35 years worth of experience, because there's a lot of fads and there's a lot of fiction. And everything that I do is evidence-based and it's tried and trusted, and it's sorting out what is just a passing fad with what is the reality that is going to make a genuine, tangible difference to how you look and how you feel.
So times that kind of, again, were a buzzword that we've had over the last few years has been purpose for lots of people. In your journey, I presume there must have been points where you were advised about kind of, if you go this route, that the business can kind of explode and become. How do you keep that sense of what your purpose was against maybe outside influences over what kind of, for the big brands, but what could be how you fast track it if you did this, which wasn't in line?
I think you have to, first of all, do a close look at what you want as an individual. Why do you wake up in the morning and do what you do? And I'm really glad you've used that word purpose. And in fact, I've written a whole chapter in my latest book is on purpose. Because, as I say, we are living longer. And we want to get to the end of our days, hopefully, and look back and think, that was good, a life well lived. We don't never want to get old and think, what was that it? What was all that about? What was the point? So I think finding the point to it early on is really important. And I think that comes from a sense of community, a sense of making a difference. We are social beings. It's connecting with people. It's feeling that you are here actually as part of the contribution, part of the solution, not part of the problem. And I think it means different things to different people, to be honest. And for me, it's not necessarily being financially driven. It's about making a difference to people's lives. People contact me on social media and say, I read this and it really helped, or say, this person from going down the wrong avenue. So I just love drilling into ways to make people well in the broadest sense, whether that's, the financial look of a spreadsheet or actually the impact of, child's health and development at a young age. It's all about wellness, and it's so broad, which is why I love the word of well-being, because it encompasses everything, doesn't it?
So do you feel positive about where we are in terms of the world and kind of, or
some days.
Some days, fair enough.
Do I think we need to take a really hard measured look at how we're living.
Right.
And, one of the things I did early on was switch off all my news notifications.
Yes.
Because we can't allow ourselves to worry about things we can't control. And I think it's really important to put a sense of perspective on that and realise that we are living in an enormous amount of environmental stress and cortisol spikes all the time. And actually, we just need to focus on being the best that we can be, because if we are feeling well and fit and in control and positive, we are better able to help others. We're in no position to do that unless we have a good sense of our own self and wellness. It's like they say, put on your own mask on a plane before helping others. And, there's a very real reason for that. I mean, on a plane, you've got about half a second before you're all unconscious. So, help yourself first. But actually, if you are in a good space, you're going to be better able to help those around you. So self-care is not selfish. It's a real priority. And I think there is a new focus coming back to that and realising that rest and relaxation is as important as graft exercise.
And do you feel kind of, two questions. Do you feel with that the pressure of life actually kind of slips us, like the easier path is the grind rather than the balance.
It can be, and I think we can become adrenaline junkies for sure,
Yeah.
and we need that dopamine hit. We see that from the way the algorithms work.
Yeah.
How many likes have I got? Notifications. Please turn notifications off every social media thing that you have, because your life is not determined by the number of likes or hits that you get, and there's always somebody who's going to get way more than you. So you're kind of setting yourself up to fail. So I think we have to recognise what is around us and work to the best of our ability and take yourself off grid. I wish I'd known earlier on the importance of being in nature. I used to think it was all a bit tree huggery and a bit woo-woo, to be honest. But actually we know that standing on bare ground, just touching grass, stone, earth, connects us with the natural energy in the earth, and it can reduce inflammation in the body on a cellular level. These things are really simple, but they're things that our ancestors knew. We've become disconnected with it. I always try and get out in the middle of the day, have a walking meeting with my team, get out, actually look at early morning daylight, because it's communicating on a hormonal level with those little retinal cells in the back of our eyes.
So can I ask, when you have a new team member, when you have a new member of your team coming in, are they already bought into this, or do you have to convince them? And kind of how is it when they're hesitant? And,
I think they learn by osmosis. I think they're obviously interested because I'm Liz Earle Wellbeing, so there's a kind of a clue in the title. But I think, yes, it is about, I will ask questions about how they best like to work, and are they a night owl or a lark, because that's a genetic predisposition.
Yes.
So if you've got somebody in your team that is on fire at 7:30 in the morning, let them work early, but they're going to be gone by 4 o'clock because they've peaked. So I think it's kind of adjusting, and I think this whole area of personalisation in the workplace as much as we can. So we do a bit of home working, we do a bit of team time all together. It's really important to actually get out and do face-to-face stuff as well. I love being in a room physically with people, but also using tech to connect as well. So I think it has to be a balance of all those things. But you will always find kefir in my studio's fridge, and that is the drink of choice for every member of staff.
Fantastic. Liz, listen, I won't take it long. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank
Lovely
you.
chatting. Cheers.